fighting in the Arctic sucks. You're miserable, you're cold, you're wet. Everything you're trying to do is trying to kill you.
As world powers race for Arctic dominance, American warriors prepare for the conflicts of tomorrow.
Here in the Arctic Circle, U.S. soldiers from the 11th Airborne Division, America's cold weather warriors, are locked in Arctic war games with Finland's military. The Pentagon knows that if you can't fight in this environment, you've already lost.
We go inside the grueling Arctic training, simulating a crisis where a NATO ally comes under attack.
We will test how rapidly U.S. can deploy to here in Finland.
Russia's already in the game, hell-bent on staking its claim. A competition over mineral-rich territory and shipping lanes. On this frozen proving ground, America's Arctic warfare strategies get tested in real time.
Hang on.
We have 16 enemy KIA.
The bullets aren't real for now, but the stakes are. Two days before the war game begins, Finnish forces from the Jaeger Brigade assemble. They're headed into the woods to hide.
On the roads around the base right now, you've got tracked vehicles that are putting people into position, getting gear ready for the drill.
The Finns are the red team, portraying the unnamed enemy trying to invade Finland. They know the Americans, the blue team, will try to hunt them down before they can attack.
Right now, the Finns are getting themselves ready for the exercise, setting up their encampments in the forest. They're cooking their meals out here. They're going to be sleeping out here for the next few nights.
Weeks earlier, the blue team assembled at Fort Wainwright in Alaska. Soldiers for the 10th Mountain Division from upstate New York flown there to prepare, undergoing an Arctic weather survival course, anticipating the call to deploy alongside America's Alaska-based cold weather warriors, the 11th Airborne Division. More than 3,000 miles away in Finland, the exercise begins with an invasion.
Basic scenario, Finland is in trouble, we are in war, and we need help.
American forces deploy, troops in one plane, their equipment in another, flying over the North Pole to try to rescue Finland, a NATO ally. The invader, unnamed, though obviously it's Russia. War game Arctic Forge is underway. American boots, skis, and snowmobiles on the ground, weapons ready for the battle about to begin.
It's not just about firepower, it's about survival. Out here, the enemy isn't just another army, it's the ice, the cold, the isolation.
As the American side prepares to defend against the invading Finns, we ride along with Colonel Christopher Brawley as he visits his troops. He leads the 11th Airborne's 1st Infantry Combat Brigade.
I'm a lieutenant, sir.
The go-team for a crisis in the Arctic.
Start experimenting with blowing charges to place the guns in the ice.
Over the next few days, they'll test their Arctic tactics.
All right, you guys enjoy yourselves. We're out of here.
Brawley commands a force of 3,200 based in Fairbanks, Alaska. The 11th Airborne, activated as the American secret weapon in the Pacific during World War II.
A bitter and bloody struggle.
And again as an air assault force in Vietnam. But it would then be deactivated for nearly 6 decades until the Pentagon resurrected it in 2022 with a new mission.
The 11th Airborne Division was stood up in order to give the United States military an Arctic capability.
Brawley is no stranger to tough terrain. A graduate of West Point, he spent most of his 2-decade Army career as a Special Forces officer. leading dangerous missions in the deserts of Iraq and the mountains of Afghanistan. Now, a new high-profile mission, the Arctic Circle, a battlefield with a steep learning curve and new rules.
We have some rules of the North. The first rule of the North is you've always got to be self-sustaining because nobody's coming to help you. Number 2 is everything takes longer in the Arctic, whether it's driving, whether it's walking, whether it's cleaning your weapon. The third rule of the Arctic is winter's always coming.
Winter's always coming.
So you're always preparing for winter. You've got to have all your equipment straightened out. And then the last one is everything breaks at -40, everything. I'll give you an example. If you take a machine gun and put it on a tripod in the snow and start firing it, it's just gonna start heating up and sink in the snow. So we've had to develop these sleds to put the tripod on. It basically gives the machine gun flotation to operate in deep snow drifts. If you take your rifle inside after it's been at -40, water will start to condense on the surface of the weapon. And if you take that weapon outside, all of that water will freeze and your weapon won't work anymore. So in the Arctic, you actually leave your weapon outside to keep it at the same temperature all the time.
At -40 degrees Fahrenheit, frostbite is also the enemy.
If you take your hand and touch your weapon at -40, instantaneous frostbite.
You touch the gun the wrong way and you're gonna get frostbite?
100%. One of the things they teach you in the Army is that when you put the weapon up into your shoulder, you're supposed to touch your nose to the charging handle to ensure that your eye is in the right spot every single time. If you touch your nose to the charging handle of a rifle in the Arctic, you will get instantaneous frostbite on the end of your nose.
And then there's the hands, protected by 2 layers.
I actually have a set of my Arctic gloves over there I can show you. They're absolutely awesome. I will put some hand warmers in the bottom of my Arctic mittens. Thanks, Josh. You can sort of put it up against your face to warm your face.
Try these things on.
Yeah, they're super cozy.
But how do you pull the trigger of a weapon with these on?
It dangles around your neck like this. And so basically you just pull your hands out, got the contact gloves on, fire your weapon for just as long as you need to, and then warm your hands back up.
What's a scenario that you can imagine? We don't need to name a specific adversary, but the kind of scenario where your troops would be deployed rapidly.
Let's just say that an adversary decided to move into the Arctic Circle and claim a piece of terrain that had a bunch of natural resources that was protected by international law. That would trigger us to counter that competition.
And you could move quickly.
Yep, we can move fast.
Fast includes flying into Finland their newest Arctic beast, the Cat V. Among the first received from a Pentagon investment of more than $250 million.
Hello, sir.
Hey, how's it going?
All right. Nice ride you got here.
Hey, would you like to jump in?
Let's go for it.
All right, let's go.
All right.
Squadron Commander Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Ludwig is about to put not just his soldiers, but the Cat V to the test. The first ever deployed on an overseas mission.
So this controls the temperature back here. The lowest it'll go is 55, so I just keep it there.
In this configuration, the Cat V can transport up to 9 soldiers with all their Arctic survival gear.
This is its first foreign deployment. They loaded it onto a C-17 cargo plane to bring it over here from Alaska.
We're showing the rapid strategic deployability of these vehicles.
How quickly could you load it onto a plane?
A couple of hours, really, from the time we're alerted.
As part of its Arctic strategy, the Army plans in a few years to have more than 100 of them.
How do the guys like the new tracks?
They love them.
When it's in the fresh powder like this, it's very smooth.
In a future Arctic showdown, mobility wins wars. It's built to go where other vehicles can't, deep into the Arctic, through ice, snow, and sub-zero hell.
It has such a significant cross-country capability. It can actually move amphibious through the water. It just floats and it uses the track as propulsion.
If you broke through the ice, would it survive?
Yes, absolutely. Sergeant Gallegos is my driver. He has a lot of experience on Bradley fighting vehicles, so he took to this very readily.
In the war game getting underway, Ludwig will lead his troops from the new Cat V.
So this will be my mobile command post.
Closer to the action.
Absolutely. Closer to the action. I can move around as a situation develops, and it allows me to move there faster.
Does it have tactical utility?
Oh, absolutely. The real tactical advantage, you can put soldiers where they're least expected.
In this war game, least expected means most likely to take out the invading red team. The high-stakes game of military laser tag begins. The enemy may be simulated, but the message is not. No one is untouchable. The American Blue Team's mission: defend the Arctic town of Sodankylä from the Finnish Red Team, representing an enemy invading from the south. The Americans deploy a battle tactic known as a screening force. Light, mobile units positioned ahead of the main force to gather intel. Their goal: detect, disrupt, deflect enemy movements. The Americans also send out a snowmobile platoon to search for the Finnish forces who are experts at hiding.
My particular unit is out far ahead of the rest of the task force.
The platoon commander, U.S. Army First Lieutenant David Buckland, and his snowmobilers have trained for this in the dense forests of northern Alaska.
You guys are used to this kind of environment, the forest. This is what you do.
Yes, sir. Here it's a little more open.
You guys are on the defense.
Yes, sir. They're fighting a large enemy, which is us, so they have to be pretty creative. They're very fluid when they move. They seek to find the gaps, and that's what we're there to stop. The Finns are really good with skis. They try and slip through undetected, and it's very unique.
Those Finnish Arctic tactics proven nearly 90 years ago in what is known as the Winter War. Early in World War II, the Soviet Red Army invaded Finland. For months, the Finns held off the Soviets in sub-zero hellscapes, the Finnish troops moving like phantoms, dressed in white, gliding on skis, striking in silence. They saved most of their country from occupation, despite being outmanned and outgunned.
They had a huge amount of space to defend and not enough soldiers to defend it.
Colonel Brawley, as part of his Arctic immersion, has studied those Finnish guerrilla Arctic tactics and the Winter War, enshrined in a museum here on the Jaeger Brigade's base.
They'd come out of the bunkers, conduct their attack, and then they'd concentrate on the Russian field kitchens and their logistics supplies.
Cutting down enemy convoys like cutting down trees. The Finns call it Modi tactics.
A Modi is basically a cubic yard of firewood. They would cut these long Russian convoys into Modis, and then you just let the winter take over. They're going to run out of food, they're going to run out of heat. They started dying pretty quickly.
So disrupting logistics can be a tactic.
100%. That's something that we have studied and are trying to use up in the 11th Airborne Division. The Finns, because of their long history
And their long border
with
a particular country,
have spent a lot of time thinking about how do you trade space for time.
That space is the over 800-mile border Finland shares with Russia.
We've learned a lot by watching how they employ minefields,
which the Americans now plant at the start of the war game as part of a deception plan, planting 2 dummy minefields to mislead the enemy and funnel them into a third live minefield, destroying nearly 3/4 of the Finns' armored assets before they can attack. The Americans seize the initiative. This isn't some dig in and hold the line operation. It's a full spectrum assault. Hit them from every angle, keep them guessing, never let them breathe. We watch the strategy play out from inside the Americans' command tent, the tactical nerve center of the operation.
This is Black Hawk Main, go ahead, over.
Currently, Jaeger platoon is going over to B-15 to set up an ambush to try to catch them.
Hang on.
We have 16 enemy KIA. They're gonna...
Based on reports called in from scouts, Intelligence officers, including 23-year-old Lieutenant Emily Reeve, must watch the entire battlefield, figuring out where next to scramble American units.
Confident, fire.
Bravo for
fire. Yeah.
Engage it.
My job is to assess what the enemy is going to do so I can advise the commander so that he can make decisions on the ground. There's potentially 1 to 2 more tanks, and they're probably staged somewhere back here.
With the Finns' Leopard tanks falling into the Americans' trap, Team Blue shows no mercy.
Call for fire in here.
Okay, Bravo 47.
Yeah.
Where are you from?
I'm from Southeast Texas.
Southeast Texas?
Yes.
How did you end up?
In the Arctic?
Yes, how did you end up here?
I thought I'd try something new and win a new challenge in life. And we'll try to shoot them dead.
And here she is, in the middle of the Arctic Circle, in a command tent dependent on a continuous resupply of firewood to keep the soldiers and their tech warm enough to operate.
What happens if this command post is discovered by the adversary?
Then we jump. We have to move. To continue to do the analysis and the tracking of all the troops while on the move can be pretty tricky.
What happens if you guys get taken out by the enemy? Because that could happen, right?
Absolutely. Out of their target list, one of their high priorities is going to be the command and control unit, right? Because that's what we're looking for them too. You take the command and control unit of your adversary, and you're probably going to win.
By sundown, the Americans would shred the first wave of the enemy. But this was just day one, and they know the opponent is still out there, as is the real-world adversary this war game is actually about. The specter of Russia looms over any future Arctic battlefield.
The Arctic is melting, revealing a jackpot of oil, gas, and minerals worth possibly trillions of dollars. And Russia, they're already moving, fortifying bases, expanding their fleets, and making it clear they plan to own as much of the far north's frozen frontier as they can grab.
Finland has been preparing for decades to defend against Russian aggression. All Finnish men from the age of 18 are subject to conscription. Finnish-American Joshua Vitamin moved to Finland in his 20s and, required to serve, became a sniper with a rapid response unit, undergoing brutal Arctic training.
There's something called SEER, which is Survival, Evasion, Resistance, Extraction. And for that, they gave us 1 day's worth of rations, and then they sent us into the forest and, hunted us for 5 days.
Who hunted you?
Other Finnish soldiers. We had no tent or anything. We had to make our own shelter in the forest every night for the whole 5 days.
What did it feel like being hunted?
Honestly, part of you's almost wishing they would just put you out of your misery and get you, but you have to keep going.
His side in Arctic Forge would also need to keep going after a devastating first day.
Fire support, this unit.
The next morning, the director of the exercise, Finnish Colonel Uri Moray, gives reporters a briefing.
Is there any questions?
Sir, what we're hearing from the Americans is that they're, quote, kicking Finnish ass. Can you confirm this?
Partly, yes.
They actually didn't say that.
Okay. So Finnish units has the feeling that we are masters here in this area, and self-confidence can sometimes be too high.
They would need a new plan. New places to, in the freshly fallen snow, hide and try to ambush the Americans. An American platoon hiding in their defensive position knows a counteroffensive is coming. When? Where? The answer: when they spot a Finnish Leopard tank.
10 o'clock! 10 o'clock!
They're clearing the mine.
Their machine gun jams, costing precious moments.
Are you dead? Withdraw. Yep.
The Americans lose the skirmish.
It was a good fight. Excellent.
Thank you.
Yep.
The red team identifies another weak spot, an undefended river crossing, using it to infiltrate with 2 infantry platoons and sneak past American defenses. The Americans have camouflaged their new Cat V, but the Finns find it.
Right now, their mobile command center that we visited, it's coming under attack.
We watch as the American forces try to defend it, but the enemy seems to be coming from all directions. Minutes after we caught up with him, Colonel Ludwig, who's been commanding the battle from the Cat V, goes down.
Oh, all right, okay.
Yep, I'm tracking.
It'll be up to the American command tent
319
to coordinate the defense.
We're gonna call for fire.
They order an immediate counterattack, destroying 7 more enemy tanks. While First Lieutenant Buckland's snowmobile platoon calls in virtual artillery strikes on the enemy forces. The invasion is repelled. The Americans hold Sadankala. Though in this war game, there's no declared winner. That's not the point. The larger mission, testing tactics and acting as a deterrent.
Does it feel like a particularly important place to be right now?
It absolutely does. I feel like there's a lot of attention. I feel like people are watching. I feel like our adversaries are looking to the north as a place where they can continue their competition. It feels like an important mission for the United States.
The Arctic, a vast frozen chessboard where nations make their next move. The US and its allies know that whoever masters this terrain wins the future.